This tournament is just flying by. What's up, tennis fans? Sleepy Picks here. We just had the third round wrap up at the Rome Masters. We're going to take a look at the round of 16 picks for the top half of the draw. Let's take a look at the draw. Here's a look at Sinner's half of the draw. And first match we're going to talk about is Sinner against Pellegrino. Sinner able to beat Alexei Popyrin 6-2, 6-0. Pretty convincing fashion. Not really much I have to say about that match. Sinner was just very aggressive on the return. He really challenged. It felt like Popyrin, by the time his feet were on the ground after the serve, that return was right there. And it really challenged the movement and confidence that Popyrin has on the clay. Popyrin also taking way too defensive of a stance on the return games of Sinner. So that just was never going to work. Sinner able to hit the ball through Popyrin pretty easily. And they did have some solid rallies, with Popyrin's forehand exchanges, but not enough to make any bit of a difference here for Sinner. So he advances in straight sets as we had predicted. And Pellegrino coming off a nice win over Francis Tiafoe. And this match was a little bit of a surprise to me. Pellegrino came out. He had the lead on Tiafoe. We saw Tiafoe dig back in, very similar to Tiafoe's previous match, where we saw him kind of start to play a little bit more clay court tennis. But here, Pellegrino able to get the tiebreak win. And then the second set was just a lot of trial and error from Tiafoe, really trying to figure out how to beat this guy. But it felt like every time Tiafoe offered something different to Pellegrino, Pellegrino had the answer. The first few games, Pellegrino was just a wall. He got a ton of shots back and forced a lot of errors from Tiafoe, who was trying to overhit or trying to hit a drop shot when he wasn't really set up to do so. Then we saw Tiafoe start to pull back a little bit and use that heavy topspin, and Pellegrino started to step in and rope shots through Tiafoe. And it was really a great contrast to see that Pellegrino had the answers. And Pellegrino, obviously with the crowd behind him, he's not as animated as some of the other Italian players. Keeps his cool. And I think that really helped him through this match. Obviously, a lot of nerves playing the 20 seed and a top-ranked player like Tiafoe. So a very nice win for him to get through 7-6, 6-1. He now takes on Jannik Sinner, and their head-to-head is 1-0 for Sinner. They played back in 2019. It was a 6-1, 6-1 win for Sinner in a M25. So not really sure how much we can put into that. Sinner's coming in. He's 13-0 now, 11-2 last year, 11-2 the year before. Pellegrino was 17-10 this year, 37-18 last year, 24-26 the year before. Pellegrino getting through the qualifiers, beating Gaston Landaluce, who is still around, Nardi, Fils, and now Tiafoe. Obviously, the Fils match was a retirement, a 4-0, and Fils calling it quits there. Sinner able to get through Sebastian Offner and Alexei Popyrin in straight sets. Sinner coming off that Madrid win over Zverev, a very convincing 6-1, 6-2 win in the finals. And Pellegrino coming off a loss in the Cagliari Challenger to Burruchaga in 3 sets, 7-5 in the third. I see this kind of going the way of the 2019 match. I think it's going to be like 1-1 or 2-2. I don't really see Pellegrino having any of the answers for Sinner. Not to mention he's going on about 8 hours on court, so this is definitely going to wear him down. I think this is again, we talk about how nice of a draw this is for Sinner to get through. Now he's got Pellegrino. Next he might have Rublev or Basilashvili, so a nice road to the semis for Sinner, but not really much more I want to say about this match. It's going to be Sinner to advance in straight sets. Probably 6-2, 6-2, maybe 6-3, 6-2. So give me Sinner in straights. Next match is Rublev against Basilashvili. Rublev able to get through Fokina, and that 6-4 set, do not be deceived, that was an all-out war. And honestly, guys, I believe that whoever was going to win that first set was probably going to win the match. Fokina had tons of chances. Rublev had tons of chances. Rublev went up a break early in that set. It felt like he was in control, but Fokina just battling back. And as it started to wear on, maybe it started to wear Fokina out a little bit because Rublev was holding serve a lot better. Remember, he didn't serve too well in his previous match against Kekmanovic. So here, the serve of Rublev was a little bit better. He was winning a few more points on the first serve. But the first few games were just a lot of deuce games, a lot of back and forth. Could have gone either way for either of these guys. But Rublev able to come out, and we talked about his confidence on the clay, how it's building here, able to get out to the finals of Barcelona. Also starting to manage his emotions a lot better. He had a few, there are always like a few things that don't go your way, and Rublev used to really let those get to him and get really angry, yelling at his box. Now we're seeing him start to manage that, play with a little bit more maturity. The second set, Rublev was holding much easier, and he got an early break on Fokina and just rode that through to the win, 6-4, 6-4. So really nice playing there from Andrei Rublev. He's going to take on Basilashvili, who was able to take out Brandon Nakashima. And, this match, a straight set match, 7-6, 6-4. It was really interesting. These guys were just whacking the ball, and it felt like Basilashvili was landing some haymakers on Nakashima. He was roping the ball today. And we talk about a guy who has about, let's see how many hours on court he has. He's going on 9.5 hours on court, and he's still able to go out there and just rope shots left and right. And Nakashima really didn't have much of a response. Basilashvili did a great job neutralizing the attack return from Nakashima. We know Brandon Nakashima likes to take the serve very early. Basilashvili was ready for that. He was able to put the ball back deep after that. Plus, he was able to return extremely well on the Nakashima second serve, too. And that really made the difference for me in this match, putting a lot of pressure on that Nakashima serve every time he stepped up to the line. The tiebreak was extremely close. A lot of back and forth there as well. And Basilashvili just coming up with some of the clutch shots. So this was a very successful win for him over Brandon Nakashima. Can he continue this streak? I will be interested to see, like we said, 9.5 hours, that's a lot. Head-to-head here with Rublev is 4-3, favoring Rublev. Their last meeting coming in 2025, it was a 5-2 retirement in the quarterfinals of Montpellier last year. That's an indoor hard court. They did play once on the clay. That was back in 2019 in Hamburg, and Basilashvili took that match 7-5, 4-6, 6-3 in the finals of Hamburg. A couple of their more previous matches they played, 2022, Basilashvili was able to win in Halle 7-6, 6-4. And honestly, in my opinion, like Basilashvili, I feel like is a little bit more of a grass type player, the way he hits the ball. But he or a faster court type player. It's interesting that he's finding all this success now on the clay. Basilashvili coming in, he's 10-5 on the clay, 9-10 last year, 27-15 the year before. Keep in mind, in 2023, he was 0-5, so he's really turned around his grass court resume here towards the end of his career. Basilashvili was able to beat Moeller in 3 sets, Hijikata in straights, Merida, who has been playing some solid clay court tennis, Ben Shelton, and Brandon Nakashima. And honestly, guys, with this Nakashima pick, we definitely thought if Basilashvili was able to kind of maintain the aggressive style of Ben Shelton, what is telling us that Brandon Nakashima is going to give him any more of a problem other than potentially him getting fatigued through the match? And the odds makers did have Nakashima as the favorite, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Andrei Rublev, on the other hand, he's coming in 7-3 on the clay, 8-6 last year, 11-6 the year before. He was able to beat Kekmanovic in straight sets and Medvedev Fokina. Both of them he beat 6-4, 6-4. Rublev coming off a tough loss to Vic Kopcheva in Madrid. But remember, that was on the heels of the Barcelona final, where I think he put out a lot of energy there, and he needed a little bit of a rest anyways. This is going to be a really tough match in my opinion. If Basilashvili really shows up and he's ready to go, I think that he'll be able to beat Rublev. I think the shots that he was hitting against Brandon Nakashima, those are going to also work on Rublev. The offense that he was producing is going to work on Rublev. I don't see it being too much of an issue for Basilashvili there. However, I do like the fact that Rublev played someone very similar in style to this in Kekmanovic. Kekmanovic with those very big, aggressive strokes. Obviously, Kekmanovic, not a clay quarter, doesn't move as well as we've seen Basilashvili move, but he does rope a lot of shots. And we saw Rublev really liked that. He liked the redirection. So I think if Rublev can kind of stay on the baseline and start to move some of these shots around, use the power of Basilashvili against him, I think that'll be a very successful pattern for Rublev. So I'm going to pick Rublev here to advance. I think it's going to be 3 sets. Something's telling me that Basilashvili is going to win that first set, and then Rublev's going to have to fight back from behind. But I feel like if this goes 3 sets, I can't see Bezos really going on his 10th hour, or it would be his 11th hour, honestly, going on his 11th hour winning in 3 tough sets over Andrei Rublev. So give me Rublev to advance in 3. Next match is Medjedovic against Landaluce, and guys, what an opportunity for these two guys. I will say, I had Landaluce last week in Madrid, and he lost first round, and now I'm kicking myself. He's on my bench, getting all these points, making it out to the round of 16, a chance to make the quarterfinals against an unseeded Medjedovic. Do I think he's going to make it? We'll see in a second. Medjedovic able to come through against Navoni, and this was a great win for him. We know Navoni playing some very solid clay court tennis recently, winning Bucharest in an ATP 250. So Medjedovic losing the first set, it felt like Navoni was able to use his style, the ability to grind down Medjedovic and kind of get a few more errors from him. But then we saw in those big points in the second and third sets, Medjedovic was coming up with all the shots. We saw him start to get a little bit more of that serve plus one and being able to dictate a little bit more against Navoni. And this was a great performance from Medjedovic. 4-6, 6-3, 6-4 win for him as he advances. He will take on Landaluce, who beat Bellucci, the hometown favorite as well, 6-4, 6-3. And Landaluce just comes in. Remember, he came in as a lucky loser last minute, is able to beat Cilic. Now he's beating Bellucci. Now he finds himself in the round of 16 with a huge opportunity. This is a guy a few days ago that lost in the qualifiers and was on his way home. And we talked about how Landaluce had the head-to-head against Bellucci. Honestly, guys, if Bellucci was going to win any match, I know clay is not really his surface, but if he was going to win any match against Landaluce, it had to be this one. So if he's not winning this one, if he's not even winning a set in this one, he's probably not going to beat this guy. Landaluce just out-rallying him, getting some of the errors, and the power that we saw of Landaluce, the speed on the clay, looked very good today. Bellucci, in my opinion, he's not that great of a clay quarter, so I don't know how much I can give props to Landaluce for winning this match. Obviously, he had to deal with the crowd, but if he's able to do it against Medjedovic, I will give him his props for sure. Let's talk about this match here. It is a 1-0 head-to-head for Medjedovic. They played in 2024. Medjedovic able to win 6-4, 6-2 over Landaluce in the semifinals of Istanbul Challenger. That is on a hard court. Landaluce comes in. He's 7-5 on the clay, 6-10 last year, 13-11 the year before. As we spoke about earlier, he lost to Pellegrino in 3 sets in the qualifier final round. Then gets the call, gets a lucky loser spot, plays Cilic and wins, plays Bellucci and wins, now finds himself in the round of 16. Landaluce is coming off a 3-set loss, a tough 3-set loss to Ethan Quinn in the Provence Challenger. 1-6, 7-6, 7-6 win for Ethan Quinn over him there. Medjedovic, on the other hand, has been playing amazing clay court tennis. 13-2 this year. 6-5 last year, 15-8 the year before. Medjedovic beating Royer in the first round, Fonseca in a tough second round match, and now Navoni in the third round. He has really shown his strength here on the clay, and you could tell at the end of that match too, the end of the Navoni match, there was some emotions there from Medjedovic. This means a lot to him to make a deep run here. Medjedovic coming off a tough semifinal loss in Barcelona to Rublev. That was a three-setter where Medjedovic was able to win the first, but couldn't win the next two sets. I think he got a little bit worn out there as he had to make it through the qualifiers to get into that tournament. Not really much more that I want to say here, guys. I'm going to go with Medjedovic. I love the way that he's playing. I think he moves very well. I think he's really problem solving here. I mean, this is two matches back-to-back where he has lost the first set and won the next two sets, especially against, a guy like Fonseca where he had to play against Fonseca and he had to play against the crowd. I love everything that I'm seeing from him. I think this is going to be a very tightly contested match. I think Medjedovic is going to come through in two tough sets. Landaluce, on the other hand, again, he's really got to prove it to me here on the clay. We talked about it. Lost to Walton, lost to Massetti, lost to Ethan Quinn, lost to Pellegrino. Hasn't really had a signature win here, and I think if he beats Medjedovic, we can call that a signature win, as this is a guy that's 13-2 now on the clay. So give me Medjedovic to advance. He will win in two tough sets, probably 7-5, 7-6, something like that. Our next match is Tirante against Medvedev, and Tirante able to get through in straight sets over Cobolli. And we talked a little bit about Cobolli. I was wondering when all these tournaments were going to catch up to him. Playing a quarterfinal appearance in Madrid, a finals appearance in Munich, and I think it finally did today. Nothing was clicking at all for Cobolli. He was just misfiring a lot of his shots, and these were shots that, if you've watched Cobolli matches over and over again, you are used to seeing these shots fall in, and they were missing by a little bit. Then I think towards the end of the second set, they were missing by a little bit more. And it's kind of funny because Cobolli's the type of guy that he's just going to keep swinging, and if it clicks, then great. Then he might be able to fight through a tough match, but it just never seemed to click for him. But I love the fact that he kept looking for those shots. I think this is a blessing in disguise for Cobolli. He's able to go back, rest, and get ready for Roland Garros, where I think he's going to have a pretty good tournament. Tirante looked great. He did what he had to do, got a lot of balls back, played a little bit more offense as well, but was able to neutralize that power of Cobolli and force him to hit one or two extra shots to open the court up, and that really forced a lot of errors off the Cobolli racket. He advances 6-3, 6-4. He will take on Medvedev, who was able to win over Llamas Ruiz in 3 sets. And guys, this is a great performance for Medvedev. This is a perfect example of why they call him the octopus. I mean, how many times do we see where it felt like Ruiz was going to have Medvedev on the defensive, and then we just see Medvedev reach those long arms out and put back a deep ball where it's challenging enough that Ruiz can't hit an offensive ball. The first set was extremely good from Llamas Ruiz. He's able to get a break a little bit early on in the set, go up and hold and keep going through that set. And this was definitely a part where Medvedev could have packed it in. He could have just said, whatever, I'm not a big fan of clay, I'm done. But instead, we saw him start to fight back. I think a lot of times, the crowd kind of the fact that the crowd was really on Llamas Ruiz's side. You had the horn playing and everything. I think that was part of the motivation for Medvedev to just kind of go up against like a me against them mentality. And I really like that. He fought for every point. I mean, even the ones where he was down love 40, or Llamas Ruiz was up 40 love on his service games, Medvedev was still fighting for every point, and I think that just wears you down. You could tell at the end of the match, Llamas Ruiz, he was really hurting. Not hurting, but he was exhausted. Having to play so many of these longer points, having to try to find offense against a guy that seems like he's getting every single shot that you throw at him back and getting it back deep. But a great win for Medvedev to get through here 3-6, 6-4, 6-2. And now looking at this head-to-head here with Tirante, these guys have never met. Medvedev coming in, he's 3-2 on the clay this year, 6-4 last year, 11-5 the year before. He seems to kind of be moving towards that targeted 6-4 that 6-4 number, because I assume that he's not going to play next week, and assuming he's not going to win this tournament or the French Open, he'll have 2 more losses on his record and probably 3 more wins as well. Medvedev was able to get through a match over Llamas Ruiz. That was his first match as well on the clay in Rome. So, a little bit of an adjustment period there in the first set for him. Got a walkover from a hatch. And Medvedev coming off a tough 3-set loss to Cobolli in Madrid. Was looking a little bit better there. Beat Marigin in 3. Beat Budkov Jair, who was playing some solid tennis. Beat him in straight sets. And I mean, I say looking a little bit better. Anything is better than losing 0-0 to Berrettini. Tirante, on the other hand, he's coming in 11-4 on the clay, 35-22 last year, 26-22 the year before. I mean, you talk about targeted losses. That's 2 straight years of 22 losses. That's not bad. Increased his win count by almost 10 last year. We know this guy's going to kind of float over to the clay courts even after the French Open. He's been able to get through Catanasso in 3 sets, Nori in straights, and Cobolli now in straights. I don't know if I'm really ready to say this was a great day for him beating Cobolli. I felt like Cobolli was just not there today. That was like the B- game of Flavio Cobolli. Tirante was coming off a loss in Madrid to Cam Nori, able to avenge that loss here in Rome. He did beat Bautista Agut and Tommy Paul in Madrid. This is a really tricky match for me. Looking at their hours on court, Medvedev with only 2, Tirante with almost 5. And the reason I keep saying this is a tricky match, it's because we have a true clay quarter in Tirante, and then we have a person who would prefer to be on anything else other than clay in Medvedev. Looking at their records here in Rome, Tirante 2-2. His 2 wins coming this year, so he was 0-2 coming into this tournament. Lost to Carreño last year, lost to Bagnis the year before. That was both in qualifiers. So this is his first time being in the main draw of Rome. Let's see how Medvedev has done here. Obviously, I feel like he's done a lot better. A win in 2023, a 4th round appearance in 2024 and 2025. And that's exactly where he finds himself here right now. His last 2 losses here were to Massetti in 2025, Tommy Paul in 2024. And he was able to win this tournament in 2023, beating Holger Rune. This is really tricky for me, guys. I'm gonna go with Tirante, and I feel like I'm gonna be regretting this, but I just don't. I'm not ready to trust Medvedev just yet on the clay. So I gotta go Tirante. I think this is gonna be a 3-setter no matter what. But I'm gonna go Tirante to advance in 3. And here's a look at Sinner's half of the draw with my picks. I keep looking at that Tirante Medvedev matchup, and I'm gonna be kicking myself if Medvedev wins that. I'm gonna say that Sinner's still gonna come out and make it to the finals here. I think if he beats Pellegrino, he'll be able to take out Rublev. There's not really much that Rublev can do to really bother Sinner with his game style. Rublev likes to sit on the baseline. He's going to redirect a lot of the power, but Sinner's just going to be able to move him too much there. I don't see that being an issue for Sinner. Then we have Medjedovic. I would love to see Medjedovic come out and take on Sinner, especially if he's able to beat Landaluce and Tirante. Hopefully they're not both 3-setters, because then that's going to be a little bit tough for him to get out there. He'll be a little bit tired, but I would like to see how the power Medjedovic is going to match up against Sinner. Something tells me that that type of game style that Medjedovic has might give Sinner some issues. So obviously, if Medjedovic can find the consistency to play against a guy like Sinner, that would give him a ton of confidence. Not sure if he would win a match like that, but I could see him really pushing him to the limit. Let me know what you guys think. Post your picks in the comments. Here's a look at our third round records, and a 5-3 day for me, a 3-5 day for the Pamplemousse. We just keep switching off here. A good day for me. Obviously, a few upsets here that we were able to call today, so felt pretty good about that. Pamplemousse missed a few key results there, but we'll bounce back for the round of 16. And as always, guys, thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We have another video out on the French Open previewing the tournament in Roland Garros, so definitely check that out to keep up on everything tennis. We will have videos out every single day recapping the round that occurred and looking at some picks for the next few days. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.